Welcome to the Quiz Fix. I'm Cyril, and joining me as always is Olivia. Each week we dig into one real story from history, science or culture, and we close every episode with a quiz to make sure it sticks. Let's get into it. If you grew up hearing about summer and pool days, there was a time when summer also meant fear of polio. Today, we're diving into the invention of the polio vaccine and the March of Dimes campaign that helped make it possible.
And this is one of those stories where medicine, public fear, celebrity power, and plain old fundraising all collide. Polio wasn't just another illness. In the early and mid-20th century, it was one of the most dreaded diseases in the United States.
Right. Polio, or poliomyelitis, is a viral disease that can damage the nervous system and cause paralysis. In severe cases, it can affect the muscles used for breathing, which is obviously life-threatening.
And the really scary part was that it often struck children and young adults. Many infections caused only mild symptoms, but the unpredictable severe cases made people afraid of the virus in a way that's hard to overstate.
So, before the vaccine, what did people have? Mostly fear, isolation, and public health measures that were limited in what they could do. There wasn't a cure. There wasn't even a vaccine to prevent it.
Exactly. That's part of why the March of Dimes mattered so much. It became a national campaign to raise money for polio research and patient support. And it did it with a brilliantly simple idea. Everyone could help, even by donating just a dime.
Before it became famous under that name, the organization was associated with President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had contracted polio in 1921. Roosevelt's experience gave him a personal connection to the disease and helped raise its visibility.
And he was not just a passive symbol. In 1938, Roosevelt helped establish the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, which became the organization behind the March of Dimes. The original name of polio was often called infantile paralysis, though the disease could affect older children and adults too.
The fundraising strategy was clever and democratic. Instead of relying only on wealthy donors, it invited ordinary Americans to mail in small donations. Thousands, then millions of people participated.
The name March of Dimes is often traced to a radio personality, Eddie Cantor, who encouraged listeners to send in dimes to the White House. The phrase caught on, and by 1938, the campaign had become a major national effort.
And that public support mattered, because vaccine research is expensive, slow, and uncertain. Scientists needed sustained funding over years, not just a one-time burst of enthusiasm.
One of the central figures was Jonas Salk. He developed the first widely used polio vaccine, which was an inactivated vaccine. That means the virus was killed so it could not cause disease, but it could still train the immune system.
That's a huge scientific achievement. Salk's team had to make sure the vaccine was both effective and safe, and that required rigorous testing. Which brings us to one of the most famous public health trials in American history.
The 1954 field trial was enormous. About 1.8 million children took part, making it one of the largest medical experiments ever conducted in the United States. People sometimes call those kids the polio pioneers.
And the results were announced in 1955. The vaccine was shown to be safe and effective, and the news was met with enormous relief. There were church bells, celebrations, and headlines across the country.
You can almost feel the emotional release in those reports. For parents who had spent summers worrying about their children's exposure to polio, it was a real turning point.
But the story doesn't end with Salk's vaccine. Another major development came soon after with Albert Sabin, who developed an oral polio vaccine using a weakened live virus.
That oral vaccine had an important advantage. It was easier to administer because it was taken by mouth rather than injection. It also became especially useful in large-scale immunization campaigns.
So the polio story is really a combined one. Salk's inactivated vaccine first, then Sabin's oral vaccine helping expand protection more widely. Both played major roles in reducing polio around the world.
And both were supported by the broader public health ecosystem that the March of Dimes helped build. The campaign didn't just raise money, it helped make the fight against polio a shared national mission.
That's an important point. It's easy to focus only on the scientist with the breakthrough, but in this case, the social movement around the research was just as crucial. Without public fundraising and public trust, the science would have moved much more slowly.
Plus, polio was deeply visible in the culture. Many Americans had personal memories of the disease, braces, iron lungs, or relatives who had been affected. So when the March of Dimes asked for help, people understood what was at stake.
Speaking of iron lungs, those machines became symbols of the era. They were used to help some polio patients breathe when the disease paralyzed the chest muscles. It's a stark reminder of how severe polio could be.
And yet, despite that fear, the public response wasn't just panic. It also produced one of the most impressive examples of coordinated support for medical research in American history.
Let's talk about Roosevelt for a second, because his role is easy to oversimplify. He did not invent the vaccine or run the campaign single-handedly, but his leadership and visibility were significant.
Absolutely. As president, he also helped shape the broader idea that polio was a national problem requiring national action. That was a powerful message in the 1930s and 1940s.
Here's a quick thought. What made the March of Dimes campaign so effective? Was it just the amount of money raised or something else too?
It was both the money and the message. The campaign made donating feel accessible, and it gave people a direct connection to a specific cause. You didn't need to be rich to participate in saving lives.
There's also the larger lesson that science often depends on public institutions and public support. The vaccine didn't emerge in isolation. It came from laboratories, trials, funding networks, and community effort.
And the payoff was enormous. After vaccination campaigns expanded, polio cases dropped dramatically in the United States and many other countries. It became one of the great victories of 20th century public health.
Though it's worth noting that eradication is not the same as disappearance. Polio has been eliminated in many places, but it has not been eradicated worldwide. Public health organizations continue working toward that goal.
Right, and that's a good reminder that vaccines can transform a disease from common and terrifying to rare and preventable. But maintaining that progress takes continued effort.
Another thing I love about this story is how it shows the relationship between emotion and evidence. The fear of polio helped motivate action, but the vaccine's success depended on careful testing and scientific discipline.
That balance is key. Panic alone doesn't solve anything. But when fear is paired with organised research and public cooperation, you can get real breakthroughs.
And the March of Dimes campaign is still remembered because it changed the model of charitable giving. It showed that many small contributions can support major scientific work.
It also helped create a template for future public health campaigns. Define the problem clearly, make the solution concrete, and give ordinary people a way to join in.
So when we look back at the invention of the polio vaccine, we're really looking at more than a medical milestone. We're looking at a moment when research, philanthropy, and public trust lined up at just the right time.
And that's what makes it such an enduring story. The science saved lives, but the movement around it helped make the science possible. That's a pretty strong teamwork lesson for history.
Polio went from a feared seasonal threat to a disease pushed back by vaccines, and the March of Dimes helped turn millions of Americans into participants in that fight.
A dime at a time, they helped fund one of the great medical successes of the century. Not bad for pocket change.
And now a word from our sponsor, Fyrebox. That's Fyrebox, the easiest way to create quizzes that grow your audience. Whether you're a marketer chasing leads, a teacher building assessments, or a creator who wants more engaged subscribers, Fyrebox lets you launch a conversion-ready quiz in minutes. No code, no designers, no waiting. Try it free at fyrebox.com. Welcome back. You just heard the story. Now let's see what stuck. Coming up, a few quick questions straight from what we just covered, 4 options each. I'll give you a few seconds to think before each answer. Ready? Here we go. Question 1. What is polio according to the script? A. A viral disease that can damage the nervous system and cause paralysis. B. A bacterial infection that mainly affects the skin. C. A heart condition caused by poor diet. D. A fungal disease spread by mosquitoes. The correct answer is A. A viral disease that can damage the nervous system and cause paralysis. Question 2. What was the March of Dimes campaign designed to do? A. Raise money for polio research and patient support. B. Provide free summer camps for children. C. Build hospitals exclusively for adults. D. Distribute antibiotics for all childhood illnesses. The correct answer is A. Raise money for polio research and patient support. Question 3. Which president had contracted polio in 1921 and helped raise the disease's visibility? A. Franklin D. Roosevelt. B. Theodore Roosevelt. C. Harry S. Truman. D. Dwight D. Eisenhower. The correct answer is A. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Question 4. What kind of vaccine did Jonas Salk develop? A. An inactivated vaccine. B. An oral vaccine made from a weakened live virus. C. A vaccine made from antibiotics. D. A DNA vaccine. The correct answer is A. An inactivated vaccine. Question 5. About how many children took part in the 1954 field trial of the polio vaccine? A. About 1.8 million. B. About 18,000. C. About 180,000. D. About 8 million. The correct answer is A. About 1.8 million. That's a wrap on this one. Thanks for sticking with us all the way through, quiz and all. If you liked it, hit subscribe so the next episode lands automatically. I'm Cyril, this was The Quiz Fix, and we'll be back soon with another true story worth knowing.